Hi everyone, can you hear me? Have no idea if you guys can hear me. I'm assuming you can. Hi Pollyanna. See, there's going to be more people who join us, hopefully. I had to come on here today because I was finding out some more information about the guy caught in the women's locker room. And it's worse than we thought. I'll begin in about a couple of minutes, but I thought we need to talk about it because if you guys can give me a 1, if you can hear me, that would be good. Oh, let me check. Oh, great. Okay. It's weird because I can hear myself with these headphones. I don't want to hear myself directly, so when we watch a couple of things, I'll put the headphones on, but for now, I'm just like, oh, it's a bit weird. So I don't normally do lives, but I just came across the criminal record of Grant Freeman. That's his real name. It was released yesterday. He goes by the name Alexis. They always choose the most feminine names they can come up with. And looking at his criminal record, when I found out that he has a record, I wasn't sure of the exact nature of his offenses. So I didn't really go into detail. Sometimes you see things on X and there's really no way to verify it other than just to know if you trust the source, the person who usually posts about it. And the people who were posting, I've never seen their accounts before. So I didn't really go into detail about his criminal background, just that he had one. That was confirmed. So I did a video on that. But now more details have come out. So his record's been released. And I knew there were some drug trafficking charges or convictions. I saw disorderly conduct. Hi, the Destroyer. Hi, Michael, Loopy, Sans 5468. Thank you for joining me. Yeah, I'm pissed too. It's just, to say it's reckless is an understatement. It's not just them allowing somebody, people of the opposite sex into women's locker rooms. There's no vetting of these men whatsoever. I can't even say that they're doing it in good faith because they really want to respect people's gender identities. I can't even say that because they're just literally letting anybody in to the women's locker room, regardless of whether this person is a convicted rapist. Anybody, any predator can walk in, a PDF file. There's no vetting whatsoever. And it's all just to practice, gender identity, the delusion of gender identity. And that is so important that they're willing to risk the safety of women and little girls. That's so important to them to bow to gender ideology, that they're willing to risk the safety of little girls. And I don't know whether they think that it's just not going to happen, that, a woman can end up getting assaulted. It has already happened, even in schools. West Virginia, for example, there was at least 2 cases of young girls assaulted because, they allowed a boy into their bathroom because he claims to be a girl because he was wearing a skirt. I mean, this is how ridiculous it is. So I'm just so angry to hear about what has come out about this person's criminal background. DV is basically another offense that he was convicted of. So you're letting somebody who has a history of violence against women into a woman's locker room and bathroom. And then we forget Tish was thrown out of the gym. She was thrown out of the gym on behalf of this person because she dared to say, this isn't right. And listening to her interview with TMZ, she's encountered numerous men in the locker room. In less than a month, she said there was 6 to 7 men, different men in the locker room. And this Grant guy says that she's accosted him at least 4 times, and rightfully so. So, you know, she was talking about how they call her the B word, get the F out of here, I'm a woman. This is what she has to deal with, and other women who go to that gym. This is what they've been dealing with. A guy walks into the locker room and you say something and he turns around and calls you the B word, turns around, uses profanity, tells you to get the F out. And then you get thrown out of the gym. Because how dare you, you know, question somebody's gender identity? And then Harvey, oh my gosh, yesterday when I saw the TMZ interview, he was like, well, you know, he was basically trying to say that if they're clearly transgender, then you should be okay with it. Like, you should be comfortable because you know that he's trying to be a woman. And she said, yeah, they told me they're transgender and they're still men. Because he thinks that if it's a man that just walks in there wearing regular guys, you know, clothing, then, you know, that's more threatening than a guy who walks in there wearing a wig, who's visibly trying to, you know, identify as a woman. Apparently it's more threatening if it's just a regular guy who comes in there. No, it's threatening because the person is male and he's walked into the women's locker room. And me personally, when I see them, you know, wearing all this makeup and, you know, like the Lily Tinos of this world, when I see them dressed like that, to me, it reeks of fetish. It reeks of it being a fetish. To me, that's even more of a concern, because it's like, tell me you're a auto gyno, you know, the rest. Tell me you're that way inclined without telling me. And this is who they're allowing. So let me show you what Sarah Fields revealed today. I saw a video of her having a meltdown in a bar, at least I think it was a bar, about being kicked out of the gym for complaining about the fake woman in the woman's locker room in the gym. You know, the videos that she's released of her in the car, she's released at least maybe 3 videos of her just explaining what happened and how it makes her feel. And it's heartbreaking. Because what does she do wrong? Absolutely nothing, other than to object to a man being in the locker room. And then they turn around and treat you like the criminal. And then they've ended up allowing a literal criminal into the women's locker room, a male. So we'll check out Sarah Fields. She's an independent journalist. I don't even know how she finds out what she finds out, but she is really spot on with a lot of the information she releases. So she must have looked up the guy's record because it has been released now officially. So as a woman, I will always have listen to Tish's back. I saw this morning that the drug trafficking charge was released, but it's actually worse than that. Grant Freeman, not Alexis or whatever name he's going by, the man who was found in a women's locker room of Gold's Gym, was charged with 3 counts related to drugs, trafficking, possession, and failure to comply. And I was aware of that. And then this comes out. He was also charged with a 3rd-degree felony for domestic violence. I'm going to say DV for the rest of the video. And was convicted in November 2022. He spent 12 months in the Department of Corrections with a 219-day credit. The man spending time in the women's locker room is a drug addict and violent abuser. Color me surprised. What if he had turned violent towards Tish that day? What would Gold's Gym have to say about that? And he has a history of violence against women, being convicted of DV. This is who we're talking about here. We're not talking about a woman or somebody who is less threatening because they're trying to present themselves as a woman, Harvey. We're talking about a man, and a man with a criminal past at that. Now, I'm not saying that everybody who walks into the gym, has a squeaky clean record. That's, we don't know what people's past is, whether they have a criminal history or not, whoever we come across in the gym. But women's spaces are there for a reason. They are there for a reason. That reason hasn't gone away. Women need protection. And they're literally allowing predators and, abusers to walk into the women's locker room and to see women getting undressed, coming out of the shower, or even going into the shower. She didn't consent to that, to a man seeing her in a state of undress. And Gold's Gym doesn't seem to care about whether women consent to this or not. So failure to comply with an order. I hope everyone can see this. Yep. Hi from Wales. Wales is very beautiful. Oh, where was I? Okay, let me go back to this. Trafficking in cocaine, possession of cocaine. And then DV. And this seems to be from 2021. So there you have it. Somebody who has a history of violence against women is allowed into the women's locker room because he says he's a woman himself. And this is somebody who started hormones in February, apparently. And we're supposed to just accept that he's a woman. And if we don't, we get thrown out of the gym. And it was Tish who was treated like the criminal. She was the one treated like the criminal. It makes more sense to throw the guy who enters into the women's locker room out of the gym, not the woman who was there in her own locker room, in the locker room that's for her. Oh, because she didn't, welcome him with open arms. And again, her reaction, it wasn't based on politics. It wasn't based on a preconceived belief about gender ideology. It was a natural reaction, instinctively. All she sees is a man in the women's locker room. Instinctively, she was obviously going to be defensive and want to protect herself. She thought, okay, there's a guy in here. There's been some miscommunication somewhere, and he's ended up coming into the women's locker room. And before you know it, because she dared to say sir, in an attempt to actually be polite, because she gave him the benefit of the doubt, thought maybe this is some sort of mistake, or even thought that she made a mistake. And maybe there was something, some workers in the gym that she wasn't aware of. She didn't see the sign or something. That's what she was saying. And because she said sir, he responds with the B word. This is what we're dealing with here. So she's dealing with verbal abuse from a man in the locker room who has no business being in there. Everyone should protest Gold's Gym until they give Tish her membership back. Well, thankfully, she has found a new gym, thanks to Joey Swole. And this is another thing I was thinking about. Joey said that I'm going to help you find a new gym that actually protects women. Let me stop sharing this now. So, yeah, this is confirmation of his criminal background. Yeah, Joey says, I'm going to help you find a new gym that protects women in Southern California. So he's found her a gym. He says that she loves it. He's found her a gym that doesn't allow men into the women's locker room. And this is in the same place in Southern California. So if this gym that Joey has found for her can protect women, what excuse does Gold's Gym have? What excuse do they have? None whatsoever, because people keep saying, well, that's the law in Southern California, in California in general. I looked it up myself. Is it against the law for them to have women-only spaces? AI Preview says, no, it's not against state law to have women-only spaces, but you have to allow somebody to use the space that is according to their gender identity. So obviously, there is no women-only spaces then, is there? When you say that based on identity, a man can walk into the women's locker room. So, okay, that's state law, but these gyms can still make decisions for themselves, I'm sorry. Just like the gym that Tish is at using now. She doesn't have to worry about a man walking in there because the gym doesn't allow it. And okay, they're worried about getting sued. What I would be more concerned about if I owned a gym would be a woman ending up getting SA'd. I would be more concerned about that than getting sued. So, which is it? Which is more of a concern to you? Getting sued or a woman ending up getting attacked by a domestic abuser, or a woman getting SA'd in your gym? That should be more of a concern to you. And if I heard of a gym that was being taken to court by a trans-identifying male who just wants to throw his toys out of the pram, then I would support that gym. I think people would rally around that gym and support them because they're going all out to protect women. I would even sign up to that gym. So, they have a choice, these gym establishments, and they're choosing to throw women to the wolves. They're choosing to leave women open to predators, to violent men. And I guess they're hoping for the best, that they'll just get a pat on the back for honoring gender ideology. And they won't have to worry about it. And the people who are left to suffer are people like Tish, are the women and the young girls. Can you imagine if it was a young girl in the locker room with this individual? So the TMZ interview he did, what a contrast. What a contrast. Tish just comes on camera and she's like, oh, sorry, I didn't have time, to prepare. I just come in on camera as I am. And they were like, oh, you look great. Don't worry. And then this one, Grant, he comes on camera giggling like a little schoolgirl. Hi, Harvey. And makeup, earrings, and then talking about how he spent 2 hours getting rid of the hair on his face as if he wants a pat on the back. Like, what an absolute joke. And what I found very profound is when Tish, she said in a X post that I'm traumatized while he is having a party. That sums it up. That sums up these friggin' men who are loving the attention, who are loving the people pandering to them, even women, unfortunately. They're loving it. They're loving going on TMZ, having this publicity. He sat there smiling and loving it. And Tish is, when she comes on there, she's just explaining what happened and trying to, get out as much as she can about her story and what happened. And then she reveals that it's been multiple men going into that women's locker room and abusing her, verbally attacking her. So this is who these gyms want to pander to then. It says what they're all about. The corn vibe is overwhelming from this Grant dude. Absolutely, Utah. Absolutely. And a lot of it is these men are watching God knows what, and they're just living out their fetish, their fantasy. And these gyms are giving them access to women. These gyms are giving them access to young girls. The gym I go to, there's kids there, there's young girls there in the locker room. Like, what is this? My gym actually has single stools. It doesn't really have men's locker room and women's locker rooms. They have men's and women's bathrooms. But it's when I first walked into my gym, I was like, there was a man there, and there's a swimming pool. So people come from the pool. The men are in their trunks, women in their swimsuits. So I was confused when I first went to my gym because I was like, and then I saw, each stool is individual stool, and I don't think they did that because of, or they don't want to get accused of, being. It had nothing to do with being transphobic or anything like that. That's just how it's set up. But I definitely believe that every single place of business, like a gym, should have women only and men's only. And then there could be like single stool bathrooms or whatever, or family changing rooms. But all this making everything unisex now, that's another route that some of these places are going down. And that's a real shame if they're going to try and make everything unisex. But if you allow a man into the women's bathroom, you've already made it unisex, obviously. If you allow gender identity to determine whether a man can go into the women's bathroom, then they've essentially made it unisex. So I wanted to react to this. Amy on X, she did a little analysis of Grant's TMZ interview. So let's see if you can see this. Okay, so we'll have a look at this and react. The reason these men are obsessed with breaking boundaries. Oh, where did it go? The reason these men are obsessed with breaking boundaries is the corn. The more and more violence in the corn, so they have to push boundaries to get their kicks. Very, very disturbing indeed. And to think that women are basically being open, that these gyms are giving access to these predators, giving them access to women. Very, very disturbing indeed. Sadly, we must remember that these are the laws in California and other democratically run states. They are protecting men. Yep, they're protecting predators. Exactly. And that's why Tish has started that petition, because she's been doing some research and she said that some states will fine men for going into the women's locker room. They would at least get a fine, a very hefty fine. They get punished for going into the women's locker room. But then you have states like California who welcome them in, roll out the red carpet for them. So she wants it to be the same in every state, because women deserve protection in every state, not just in red states. Women are open to being attacked, in these places, wherever they are. And I want to know that when I'm in California, I go to gyms wherever I travel. I want to know that if I go to a gym in California, that a man's not going to walk into the locker room. I know that's not going to happen where I am here. I live in a red state. But I go to California. I've got family in California. I used to live there. And I want to know that I can go to a gym and a friggin' dude is not going to walk in. That every woman, wherever she travels, should have that reassurance. So, the link for Tish's petition is on my X account. It's on the last two videos I've done about this story. Okay.
Today, I want to talk about Alexis Black, aka Grant Freeman.
Okay, can you hear that? Did you hear that? If you can give me a one if you heard that. I've seen. Oh gosh. Yeah, there's some crazy laws that many of us aren't even aware of. Yeah. Okay, great. So let's have a look at this video that Amy did.
Okay, so today I want to talk about Alexis Black, aka Grant Freeman. This is the man who was in the bathroom that Tish Hyman has called out. I want to talk about crybully, I want to talk about DARVO, and I want to talk about entitlement. I'm going to show you two clips from a TMZ interview that he did, and we are going to discuss them. So here is the first one. Right now, I want you to pay attention to the excuses that he is making about why he deserves to be in women's spaces. Here we go.
I began using hormones this year in February, and I actually relinquished that information to her about name change, and it says female on my ID and hormones, and I mean I'm registered as a female with the gym, so.
Hormones and ID and hormones, and I'm registered as a female at the gym. So, did you notice the one duper's delight, the absolute S eating grin on his face? He looks like the friggin' Cheshire cat. This grin is so big. The absolute audacity and entitlement, and he is loving it. This is clear that he is eating this up. I don't care. We have a sex recognition instinct. We see you. It's obvious. I don't even know why I'm arguing about it. There's nothing to argue about. We see you. You're a man. I don't care about your name, Chase. I don't care about your ID. I don't care about how you registered at the gym, and I don't care about your frigging hormones. I don't care how much money you spend on all of these things. I don't care how much money you spent to change these documents. I don't care how much money you spent on hormones. You cannot buy some sort of all access pass to naked women and girls.
Sorry about that, guys. Oh dear. Oh gosh. What I was saying is, yeah, it's a very. Can you hear me now? I had to mute myself because while watching that, and I've seen people do lives where they forget to turn the mute button off, and I always think it's right there. So I was saying he had the nerve to say I relinquished that information to her as if that's supposed to be mean that she's going to be okay being naked in front of him. Absolutely ridiculous. And yes, it was weird phrasing, Uta. And I was saying that Harvey kind of alluded to that if a man is openly making an effort to look like a woman, then we're supposed to be comfortable with that. We're supposed to think, oh, he's transgender, okay. No, that's not how it works, because he's still a man. And you know, going on hormones and telling me that you're on hormones is not going to make me feel any more comfortable with you seeing me naked. So no. Okay, I'm not going to mute myself again just in case. Absolutely ridiculous.
No, absolutely not. This is what it looks like for someone to be a cry bully. He is supposed to be pretending that he's a victim. Meanwhile, it's very clear that he is the bully. This is DARVO. This is deny abuse and reverse victim and offender. He is not the victim here. He is the offender. He is the perpetrator. He is the predator in the situation. And he's trying to gaslight everyone, manipulate everyone into not seeing what we see, not seeing the obvious in front of our faces. This is absolutely about power, dominance, control, and entitlement. Now, the TMZ interviewers, they ask him, should they have built a second restroom? Why do you use the women's restroom? And could they have built, a restroom for trans? Here's what he says.
So, but about the bathroom, am I entitled to it? I know that I'm a woman. Should they have built another one to necessitate building this room? People would have to have the level of comfortability within themselves that I do. Not everyone possesses this much feminine power. It doesn't happen. Not in this patriarchal system of which we've been living for so long.
So, first of all, is he entitled? Yes. Does he answer their question? No. They asked him a question about should they have built second bathrooms for men like you? He doesn't answer that question. He goes on some weird conversation about how he's living in his feminine power and not everyone can do it like he can. And somehow this is him fighting the patriarchy, where this is actually him being the patriarchy.
It's so infuriating when they talk about fighting the patriarchy. Like, what maximum level of gaslighting is that? What? And yeah, he couldn't even answer the question honestly. Yeah, you do feel entitled. And someone made a good point. This guy is acknowledging biology by saying that trans men, so females, we can't put them with the with the trans women. He said that. So you're acknowledging biology then. So what's the difference when we say that we don't want men in our locker rooms? What's the difference? They acknowledge biology when it suits them.
Let me put up a little quote for you. What is grape culture? This right here. Male entitlement and contempt for female sexual boundaries. Male entitlement and contempt for female sexual boundaries. These are the major components of the baseline cultural programming within the male-dominated sex castes in which we are collectively trapped. I'm going to repeat it one more time. Male entitlement and contempt for female sexual boundaries. Male entitlement and contempt for female sexual boundaries. That's what he's doing. And look at the duper's delight on his face. Look at this S-eating grin, this Cheshire cat grin that he ends his whole little tirade with. Look at that face. Is that the face of a victim? Or is that the face of a bully who is absolutely delighting in the boundary violation that he is perpetrating on women and girls?
Wow, absolutely spot on there. So that's Amy on X. Let's see what her account is. Absolutely spot on. Amy E. Souza. And she has a MA in psychology. So, I mean, he had the nerve. Let me take this off now. He had the nerve to say that he accused Tish of being aggressive. He accused her of being aggressive and said that she's accosted him several times, I think 4 times. And he had the nerve to say that women have comforted him because she has attacked him aggressively, has been aggressive towards him. So he's claiming that women have comforted him after she's been aggressive towards him. That's what he said in a TMZ interview. And while he was saying that, he was smiling. He was smiling and acting as if it's the best thing in the world to be traumatized and, you know, where people need to comfort you. What woman is recalling a time where they needed someone to comfort them because they've been, you know, unfairly treated or attacked by an aggressive person? What woman would sit there laughing about it while they're recalling that? He's sitting there smiling and laughing while claiming that she was aggressive towards him. When I saw that, I was just like, the whole thing was an absolute joke. And people were annoyed with TMZ because, you know, they allowed it in the first place. Like, why are you interviewing this predator? But Tish, you know, she said, no, I'm glad that they equally gave him a platform like they gave me a platform so that people can make up their own minds. They can hear both perspectives and they can make up their own minds. And yeah, I was annoyed with them because of their line of questioning. They could have probed him a bit more about the allegations he made against Tish about her being aggressive and all of this. But are you talking about a woman who just says, get out of here, you're not supposed to be here? To many of these men, that's aggression. When you tell him, when you don't affirm his gender identity, that in itself is perceived as aggression. This was supposed to be a short live, so I'll read your comments now. So yeah, that was really spot on. No wonder my uncle stopped watching TMZ years ago. TMZ went woke a long time ago. Absolutely. I say I can't make sense out of nonsense. Thanks so much for your awesome videos. It's sad that she's B. Callie and they are nothing. They don't care nothing about women's safety. Exactly. In California, clearly, this is a situation that women like Tish are dealing with. And, you know, we can say, oh, people do say stuff like, oh, they voted for this, you know, that kind of thing. But objectively speaking, men should not be going into the women's locker room. It's as simple as that. Oh, how do I get this? I'm praying for the day when they put a stop to this. I hope that day comes soon. Absolutely. Because I hate to think that what are they waiting for? Something terrible to happen? And it has already happened anyway. In many places that allow this. So yeah, Tish is originally from NYC. Yeah, she's from the Bronx, from what I read. She's originally from the Bronx. So I would love for Tish to come onto this channel if she wants to do you know, an interview and speak about what happened. People have been suggesting that. I can't get hold of her on X because, you know, you have to be following each other before you can DM them, you know, that sort of thing. So we'll see. But it sounds like, I'm so happy to hear that she's got a new gym now. Joey helped her find a new gym and she doesn't have to pay for gym membership. So, you know, good for her. I'm really happy to hear that. And I hope everything goes well for her in that new gym. Clearly, she's into fitness. She said that on X, she said that she was 250 pounds in as recently as 2023, she used to be 250 pounds. That blows my mind because obviously she's in great shape. So that must have taken a lot of work to get there. And this is what she had to say about the criminal, the information about his criminal past. Where is it now? She basically, let's see, I'll just end it with this. Jennifer said, these are the types of men you're standing up for. If you think men who say they are women should be allowed to enter women's private spaces. Exactly. So let's just take a look at Tish's X account before we go. She thinks we should use the term transsexuals. I don't know much about that, but let me know what you think about that. Instead of saying trans women, trans this, she thinks we should just use the term transsexual. Yeah, I'm trying to see what she said about the convictions. She basically said, oh yeah, she said, go look up my criminal record. Oh wait, I don't have one. Yet she was the one treated like a criminal. Gold's Gym. So yeah, I think I'll leave it there. If anyone else has anything else to say before I go, because I think it's best to quit while you're ahead when it comes to doing these lives. And I've been on for like 40 minutes, which is like, I did not plan on that. I'm telling you now. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this is like my second live, I think. But I just had to come on here and speak about this because doing a video doesn't really, I don't know, that takes time. I really wanted to speak about it now. Yeah, I work at home. I'm sure a lot of people, during the pandemic, a lot of people just started working out at home. And then when you hear stories like this, I don't blame people for avoiding these gyms, male or female. So I will keep you posted. We hear anything else about this situation. I'm waiting for Gold's Gym to issue an apology to Tish Hyman. That's what I'm waiting for now. Because even if that's your policy, whatever, to throw her out of the gym, I still can't get over that. I still don't understand their justification either. So, but thank you everybody for joining the live. I'll try and do more. I think it's a great way to get some videos out. No editing. It takes me forever to edit, and I don't understand how people can do like multiple videos a day. I really don't. So that was the aim, but it never turns out that way. So maybe I'll come on here more often. And yes, call them. Oh gosh, where did it go? I just want to get this comment. Someone agreed that we should call them transsexuals. That's what I was trying to find, but I can't find the comment now. Interesting. Yeah, so I don't really know much. I know back in the day. Oh, so Blair White, Buck Angel. I know back in the day it was I think more commonly used. Transsexual should be used for people born with both sex genitals. Oh. Well, even with people born with DSD, for example, born with abnormalities, they may have obscure genitalia. They are still either male or female. But because they may have been raised the opposite sex from what they they are the opposite of what their chromosomes are, you know, they end up feeling more like that's their true sex. So maybe in that situation, but I always say, even in that situation, you're still either male or female. And what people do, you know, with their lives, that's up to them. I just have an issue when it comes to sports and women's spaces. So, and I think most of us would agree on that. Yeah. I bet you a lot of these lawmakers didn't think it through very carefully. They didn't. Especially in Australia with that Julia Gillard woman. I think she just thought, oh yeah, we're being inclusive, we're being they almost see it as being kind even. But they're not thinking there's consequences when you say that somebody can identify as a different sex. They didn't think it through. But now that all this has happened, they're still doubling down though. So they're still doubling down and allowing it to continue because they don't want to admit that they're wrong. So yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much. I really appreciate all of the lovely messages. You know, as you know, there's been my dad passed away a couple of months ago, and there was another death in a family friend passed away as well, like not too long after that. So it's been tough, but all of you guys have been sending lovely messages and continuing to support the channel. So I'm really appreciative of that. And I know I'm not the most, I don't get the story out like some of these other YouTubers, they get the stories out like that. But it's difficult with kids when the kids are at home and stuff like that. So, but you guys have still continued to support the channel. So thank you so much. And yeah, I'll see you in the next recorded video. Thank you, Patricia. I really appreciate that. That's one of the reasons I don't come on doing a live at the moment. I don't want to like get emotional and everything on camera, but yeah, I'll keep you guys posted. Thank you, the Destroyer. Thank you. And yeah, so have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you for spending what, you know, almost 50 minutes here. I know it takes a lot of time out of your day. And I will see you in the next video. Take care of yourselves.